And we are back. Another episode of The Chris Gray Show. I am your host, Chris. And what are we getting into today? A whole bunch of stuff, actually. I don't know how much of it I'm going to cover because I get very bored easily doing these. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we've got a jam-packed show for you. In words and what are women in words? I don't know, but for both sets of people, we got some shit for you. But first, let's hear what a prophet. This is a prophet. He's about to speak, right?
They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information.
Sound familiar to you? I want to say this was in the 90s, right? This is what George Carlin is talking about in the 90s.
You get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago.
30 years ago from like the 90s. I'm not good at math. Don't make fun of me because of that. I'm very sensitive about that. It's no time to laugh. It's serious time.
They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end.
And that he is talking about people like me, right? I come from a working class family. Everybody worked just regular jobs and shit. Niggas didn't become like football stars or basketball stars or like pro wrestlers and none of that shit. Niggas just worked. Niggas went to school, graduated, then went to work, right? And I just kind of fell in line with that, right? I went to school, to high school, graduated high school, tried to go to computer school, learned a lot from that shit, but nigga dropped out, not once, but twice. In two different schools, though. You know, and just been working ever since, just different jobs and shit. Like, shit is crazy. The shit is crazy. So he's not lying about that. But outside of that, how's your mental? Why does it matter if Kamala Harris is black or not? Right? Why is it so important to black people that she be black or that she isn't? I don't understand the gripe with her ethnicity, right? No matter what we think she is going to be looked at as a black woman to everywhere, all over the world. She's going to be looked at as a black woman, either in a negative way and for damn sure, in a positive way and for damn sure in a negative way. So I don't understand. I seen a nigga in the video talking about Kamala is not one of us. Well, for one, who the fuck are you? And do we want to be like you? That's what I want to say to that. But I think it's weird, right? Again, vote for whoever the fuck you want to vote for, right? I don't care about none of that shit, right? But for black people to be fighting black people over the race, I guess, or ethnicity of Kamala Harris is retarded. I'm sorry, we shouldn't say retarded. It's dumb. I don't know. It's just those infighting, that black infighting is really like, it's nasty to me, right? Because a lot of this shit is like gender war shit, feminism, misogyny, misandry, all that shit just mixed up into one. And all we see on like threads, for instance, right? So I'll put some shit up right here. All you see is just these questions that people are asking, these divisive questions and shit like that. Disgusting. I know it's for engagement, but it's still disgusting. Shaping culture that way too. Whether people understand it or not, they're shaping culture through these conversations that you might think only a few people are seeing. But then people are having conversations about these things offline with their friends. You know, that's how word travels and stuff like that. Not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that's how things are starting to work now. Things can manifest on social media into real life. We are starting to see that firsthand, you know. So it's a dangerous game we playing. Or maybe it's not really a dangerous game. It's just a stupid game, right? Because we are so collectively divided. We wouldn't even be able to pick someone to represent all the black people, all the African Americans, I guess, right? And what would he be, or what would she be? Well, who would they be? Democrat, Republican, right? We assume they might be Democrat, but hey, we can put our money behind a Republican or independent, but we're too damn divided for any of that. So we look at the ones who are passing through as black and say, hey, you're not black, so you don't represent us. Well, a lot of you guys don't represent us, whether you understand it or not. Especially if you just don't understand she is black to everybody else, like every other race, right? She's looked at as such, right? Regardless of what her actual ethnicity is, she's looked at as such. At least to me, she is, right? But that's, you know, that's what I see about that shit. I just see a lot of infighting. Like, stick to fucking gender wars and leave politics out of it, right? If you don't like Trump and you do not like Kamala, who do you think the blacks should vote for? Who do you think the African Americans should vote for? I'm not really a big fan of that word African American, nor am I a big fan of blacks too. I don't like that. African American is like that's what they gave us, right? African American. Everybody else, there's no such thing as Mexican American, or no one says that. It says Mexican. They have their whole that's their whole shit. Is that it's no American, none of that shit. You can live here for 50 years and shit. It doesn't fucking matter. They're Mexican, right? But we don't have that. You know, or Asians, you know, or they're Asian. They're not Asian American. Even if it is true, it's not even. They're not even looked at as such. You're not referring to an Asian person or a person of Asian descent as an Asian American. You're not doing that. You're not doing that, right? Because they don't even look at themselves as Asian American. They look at themselves as Asian. You know, because I know we look at ourselves as just black, right? Hopefully I'm not getting too deep on fucking racial identities and shit like that. Speaking of which, for the non-black people, right, who watch this show, every black person you meet, every African American, which I still hate, their last name comes from a slave master. It says it right in African American. You're saying we are of African descent, and we have these English and French, these weird ass European last names and stuff like that. Not weird ass, but it's just like my last name is Gray, right? Look it up. They don't say nothing African in that shit, you know. So niggas was owned by somebody, and they say we can't get reparations, but we're carrying that slavery shit like it's literally in our names. It's crazy, right? It's a shit is crazy. Hopefully not getting too deep on racial identity and stuff like that. But sometimes you have to, right? Because black people don't have those conversations, especially that shit about the last names. Because it's crazy. Because it's like, how many Williams and Johnsons do you know, nigga? Like the you know, I don't have a typical black person last name, right? Johnson or Williams or some shit like that to be stereotypical, right? My shit is just like, I think it's like English or some shit like that. I don't know. I forgot. Well, I'll put it back up again. But it's good to have those and be reminded of those things, right? Especially if you haven't been reminded that you're like you're like in like a what is that? Like a white supremacist nation and shit like that. This shit is ran for and by the white people, right? You still have that daily dose of you was once a slave or your ancestor was once a slave when you see your last name. That shit blows my mind sometimes, and it keeps me up at night because you just it takes you back to how you want to live your life and how things are already like set up against you. Like there's no way for you to succeed, right? To let you couple in and stuff like that. I'm going off on a tangent, and it's all going to be cut anyway. So, what else do we got? I'm going to skip Killer Mike because I don't know exactly what I want to say about him. He was on the Joe Budden podcast, and he's a very powerful speaker. I will say that. He do remind me of like a black supremacist, right? If that's even a thing, right? And it sounds super negative, so I don't want to even say that. But that's what it is, because he's just like so pro-black, right? You know, when he said that shit about how he went to an all-black school, right? And the school name was black. His high school name was black. And everybody was black at his high school. That shit is crazy. Because in junior high and high school, it was all mixed, right? Every ethnicity and race, stuff like that. But to go to a school that is all black, that's something a lot of us don't even get to see unless we go to like a predominantly black HBCU, right? But to see it in high school and junior high and elementary school, and all those schools have black people named after black people, like that shit blew my mind. It makes me want to raise my kids in places like that, right? It makes me want to raise my kids in places where they aren't looked at funny because of their skin color. And kids are kids, but kids can carry that shit for the rest of their life. You know, when they look at you and they look at you and make fun of you because over things that you can't even change or you can't even fix. And as a child, you don't even understand what race is yet, and you're getting a nice dose of it very early on in your childhood, right? That's just me being scared. You know, I'm not afraid to be vulnerable right now, and I don't even got kids. That's the crazy part. But I'm afraid for them because this is shit fucked up out here. What else do we got? Anything worth? Nah, I'm out, guys. Love y'all. Oh, before we go, like, comment, and subscribe. Please and thank you. Please let me get my fucking round of applause on the way out of this motherfucker, man. Because niggas never clap for a nigga when he leave and shit like that. Nigga, clap for me when I leave. Nigga, be excited when I leave because I'm never coming back.